Hey, good day, everyone. Paul Lawrence Van here with Leadership is Influence, and I hope that you're doing great today. And of course, Leadership is Influence is the YouTube channel that I lead. And one of the things that I want to share with you is about self-leadership. Now, a lot of people don't talk about self-leadership, but actually it's the beginning of leadership itself. And ultimately, I want you to become a better leader and then ultimately a leader of influence. And so that's the topic I'm going to talk about today. But before we get started, I just simply want to ask you, how are you doing? Through viewing the videos and listening to it and watching it, what are you coming away with? What are you walking away with? And actually, I want to ask you, what do you want from it? And what I've done, I've posted my email address here that you can go in there and provide any questions that you may have. And as you can see, it's info@paulvanspeaks.com. And I just want you to feel free to contact me. So let's get started. And self-leadership is the practice of understanding who you are, identifying your desired experiences, and intentionally guiding yourself towards them. So what it takes into account is that it spans the determination of what we do, why we do it, and how we do it as it pertains to leadership. And it really comes from a more of a leadership model that has existed from an organizational management perspective, but we also have to be able to carve out who we are as individuals along our leadership journey. And so one of the things to consider is that positive self-leadership refers to the capacity to identify and apply one's signature strengths to initiate, maintain, or sustain self-influencing behaviors. Yes, I know that's a lot, but that's what it's all about. So thanks for going on this journey with me down this path. And one of the things we have to consider is having self-control. When we have self-control, it is the most beautiful thing in the world because we all are internal beings, meaning that we have our own mind, our own heart, and our own thoughts. And so those are internal factors. But when we look at external factors that pull at us, the stresses of life, deadlines, it's the new hybrid workplace. And when we look at these things, we need self-control and we need it now. And so it's also synonymous with self-management and self-regulation. And it really takes into account the iterative process of determining a desired end state. So we may ask ourselves, where do we want to be a year from now? Where do we want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? We want upward mobility. We want pay increases. We want more benefits. We may want more time with the family. We may want to work more in a virtual or remote capacity as employees. And so when we have this self-control, we also are carving out the type of lifestyle that we want, both professionally and personally as well. So self-management is necessary, but not entirely encompassing element of self-leadership. And it simply refers to the internally regulated management and execution of tasks. It's kind of addressing the how of an action. How do I increase my productivity? How do I become a better asset for my team and my organization? How do I still meet the goals that I've set for myself? I've attended school, be it high school or college, and I want to maximize what I've learned, how I acquired that knowledge, and now I want the application of it. And so that's something to consider. We also want to look at self-determination because without self-determination, we don't really have that much in life. So when we do, it's all about our human motivation, and we want to also live that purposeful life. So in essence, what self-determination takes into account, it highlights the role of internally regulated and intrinsic motivation. And that's the driver behind self-leadership behavior. So it's that inspiration on the inside of us. Again, we're operating from an internal perspective in an external world. The internal perspective we can control, but the external we can't. But so it comes down to how do we respond to it. And it's also important to understand that there is a model, if you will, when it comes to self-leadership. And a part of it takes into account the psychological aspects or the mindfulness, a job craft in itself. So that comes into that area of abilities and talents. And we all have them. We are born with gifts and we advance those gifts through more learning, more acquired of knowledge, through training. And then we also look at the talent that we're just born with. And then we have the strength-based decision making and strength-based recovery. So those are character strengths in which we take into account. And so when we look at these different competencies, it crosses four dynamically interacting core capabilities. So we also have what we call the high quality connection. So those are more environmental strengths. And last but not least, interests and aspirations, which we all should have. And so it's all about the purposeful vision and authentic engagement of our abilities, our knowledge, skills, and abilities. So let's take a look at this time at some core competencies and skills that relate to the field of self-leadership. And one of them consists of self-awareness and self-knowledge. And I received an offer to put a bid in with one of the national organizations of federal government, and it was about self-awareness. But I think what they wanted their employees to take and their organization to take, and it was the ability to perceive themselves clearly through inward introspection. And it's the act of practicing mindfulness with the attention directed towards yourself. And so this is the element where we try to pull everything out of ourselves, looking at our entire life experiences and bringing them to bear on a project for an organization as a member of a team to further the goals, the vision, and the mission of the organization itself. And so self-awareness allows us to perceive our current inner reality or state, and it's a prerequisite for self-control and self-regulation. And so again, we want to be able to control ourselves. And then we want to look at some personality traits. And part of that is to predict our thoughts. Our personality traits really predict and explain our thoughts, feelings, and behavior, in particular, spontaneous actions. So we have to take ourselves to a higher level of consciousness if we are to achieve excellence in what we do. And so it's something that we have to look at in terms of our individualism compared to our team concept and organization we work with. And individuals with a lower consciousness, they are more ambitious to improve their self-leadership skills and could place particular effort on cultivating consciousness. Yeah, I know it sounds deep, but when we get down to the fundamentals, the basics of life, it really just comes down to we have to be able to make good decisions that provide us with the best results that we can get in the given moment. And so in essence, that's what it takes into account. And then we want to look at our values, and they're most important to us in life, and knowingly or not, we make decisions based on them. And they're the reasons why we do what we do. So we have to have some values. There's certain things that we will do and we won't do. It's our morality, it's our thoughts. And oftentimes what we really try to achieve is to try to get the best out of ourselves, get the best out of others, and get the best out of the situations. And looking at it from the standpoint of everything working out as well. And then of course, we have our talents and interests, and that offers insight into how we can put our strengths to work, whether we enjoy the processes and then maximize our chances of succeeding and serving a purpose bigger than ourselves. So we are looking at, do we serve something bigger than ourselves? When I served in the military, it really wasn't about me. It was really about our country and being in a position where I could help with the national defense to protect us here in our homeland and abroad where our interests lie. And so the same thing may hold true for you, for the company that you work for. is that you want to get the best out of the products and the services that you provide, whether it's domestically or internationally. And then we want to look at self-knowledge, and it allows us to answer questions such as, what am I feeling and why? And what is important to me? How can I succeed? And when do I need to be particularly vigilant on my goal or journey? And then what is my sense of purpose? Now, this one is the one that most people may struggle with because people know, well, I'm here, but why? What is my purpose? And then once you discover what your purpose is, then you put your passion behind it. And for me now, in the second chapter of my life, after having served in the military, it's to provide speeches, coaching, digital courses, books, and speeches, of course, for and consulting for organizations, and also to help individuals through my leadership coaching programs. And so the purpose is to help others to become good at what they do. And leadership is one of the best ways to do it. And then another thing to consider is identifying desired experiences. And of course, we strive for happiness, which should be everyone's goal because we can't control our happiness. No one else can give us happiness. We have to give it to ourselves. And then we can embrace what others provide, but we can make ourselves happy, and we can't control that. And no external force can impact that because it belongs to you and it belongs to me. And what our goals, they are meant to achieve when we look at for our happiness. And research shows that the ability to predict what will make us happy is poorer than we think. In other words, it's important to understand the insights from happiness research as well as how they align our goals or desired experiences with our values. So there's a lot going on there. And then we want to look at constructive thought and decision making. And what this entails is we like to think of ourselves as cognitive and rational species that make thoughtful choices along the path of life. And unfortunately, many of the processes happening inside our minds are anything but rational at times, depending on those external forces that are coming in to disrupt our peace and our peace of mind. And so we want to definitely have constructive thoughts and decision making. And we also want to bring in that aspect of planning and goal setting. Because to me, what I explained to people over the years, and I'm a mindfulness coach as well, is that people who set goals oftentimes exceed those goals. And people that don't set any goals will not get the results in life that they're looking for. And it's just an aspect of relativity. If you put forth the effort, you plan, and you set those goals, the odds are you're going to get a lot closer to them than if you don't plan and if you don't set goals. And so when people come in the beginning of the year with New Year's resolutions, well, that's just temporary. But when you set goals, at the end of this year, I would have written 2 books. At the end of this year, I would have delivered 30 keynote speeches. At the end of this year, I've written 5 digital courses. I've written 5 more additional books. So a lot of it just comes down to if you plan and have goal setting as a part of your life, and most successful people do, the likelihood of you achieving those goals are going to be high as a part of this self-leadership dynamic that I'm talking about. And then we want to optimize our motivation. And as I shared in earlier videos, I'm a very self-motivated person. It doesn't take me a lot to get me going. I can take one idea and I can move it forward, move it down the path, if you will, because I'm just an inspired individual. And because I have seen the rough side of the mountain in my life, and I think I like the happy side of that mountain better than I do the rough side. And so I made a choice, and my choice was to be happy. And as a part of that, happiness is to be motivated, to be inspired, and to be empowered as a part of that process. And then optimizing motivation means understanding the role of willpower, a finite resource, but one that can be cultivated. So you have to be determined, and no matter what obstacles or hurdles in life that come up, I'm going to overcome them no matter what. It may take some time, and I have plenty of time, and I can be patient, but I will see things through to fruition because I will manifest them to happen. And then we want to look at harnessing the ecosystem, which means all the things around us and taking those and building on them. And also, there's curiosity regarding the magnitude of influence and environment versus our genetics have on our behavior. And one could always say, well, because I was born in this family, because I was born in this race, because I was born in this country, you can throw that out of the door if you want to achieve success. Power through, people. Don't let anything stop you. And yeah, you can have some excuses, and some of it may be true. However, once you set your mind to something, I'm fully convinced that you can not only achieve it, but achieve it at a very great magnitude. So I'm pushing you and asking you to put aside the excuses, put aside the hurdles in life, and move forward. And then we want to amplify our performance, and high performance planning entails asking yourself a set of questions about how you can perform optimally during a predefined period. And then reviewing, looking at the ambition that you have for something at the end of it, and such as its particular form of planning, goal setting, and intention forming. So you can amplify your performance, but you have to assess it. You have to see where you are in the process as you're along this journey and move forward. And then self-coaching is also a constructive thought strategy that involves solution seeking by mentally navigating and coaching framework. So there's ways to do it. And then you want to embrace failure and cultivating grit, because I always say that failure is not final. And there's a lesson that everyone learned something that didn't work out right. You don't have to start over, just tweak it a little bit, get back on your plan, whatever you set that goal for, and approach it from a different perspective, a different point of view. And so that's very important. And something else here is learn to fail or fail to learn. So most of the very successful people in life have had failures, and it's not something that we should allow to impact us. And I just have a few quotes I want to share with you right now. And one is, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. And I think that's very true. And then self-leadership is about influencing ourselves, creating the self-motivation and self-direction we need to accomplish what we want to accomplish. That's powering through, everyone. And then all human beings are self-leaders. However, not all self-leaders are effective at self-leading. And this just means we need to tweak a few things. That's pretty much it. And here's a wonderful quote here. The first and best victory is to conquer self. Oh my God, this is my favorite one, because I always tell people that when you look in the mirror, your greatest competition is yourself. I recall running the track and field. I had my lane, my competitors have their lane. Let's say there's 8 lanes out there. And I never concerned myself with what the other 7 lanes were doing, people in the 7 lanes were doing, because if I focus my efforts and I stay in my lane, the only thing I'm competing against is myself and the clock. And the other people just happen to be there. And that's the way we have to view life, is that our greatest competition and the best work that we can ever do is on ourselves. And if you don't believe me, just try to get into someone else's head and you won't get very far. Get into your own head and figure that out, and life is beautiful. That's what I'm going to say. And then here's another great quote. Being a self-leader is to serve as chief captain, president, or CEO of one's own life. So these are very wonderful quotes, and I just want to share them with you. And here's another great quote. First, be a leader of yourself. Only then can you grow to lead others. You know, I think I'm going to end on that quote note, because that's a powerful one. And I'm going to repeat it because I like it that much. First, be a leader of yourself. Only then can you grow to lead others. This is what I want to share with you today, and I hope that it brings some meaning to you. And again, primarily what I've covered is self-leadership and the importance of it. And we find ourselves in that leadership role, but first we have to be able to lead ourselves. And I've repeated this time and time again on this YouTube channel, Leadership is Influence, is that everyone is a leader. We all have a life to lead. Some lead their life better than others. So no matter what position you happen to be in, if you're an employee, you're a leader. If you're a manager or supervisor, you're a leader. And then the leader with the title, president, CEO, executive director, whatever it may be, is also a leader. And again, I want to talk about the three-legged stool. The leader by title, designated title, the manager, and the employee. They all work with each other to form a more perfect union, if you will. One cannot work without the other. In other words, it's a trinity that works. And as soon as that you learn that you are a leader, and even if you don't have the title, you still have a responsibility and duty in your employee position to lead that effort. And it's incumbent upon you to understand that, and don't let anyone tell you any differently. And over time, you will become a better leader. And that's my goal for you. And then ultimately, my goal for you is to become a leader of influence, because a leader of influence helps develop other leaders in the organizations, and it increases and helps the business performance. And that's really what it's all about. No one obtains achievement or success alone. And no one is self-made. We're self-developed, but we're not self-made. People say, well, I founded this country and it's this company and I did it by myself. No one does anything by themselves. Okay. It sounds good. It's good media, good material, but it's not reality. Everybody needs someone else to help them, even if it's just to mentor them. And so we want to put ourselves in that position where we have self-leadership, and we have self-leadership because it really shows the strength of you as an individual, and then you bring that strength to bear within an organization, on a team, on projects, and then in an organization, a company that you work with and for. And so I'm going to end today, but I really want to give you that invitation once again to give me send me a email with questions, and you can do so at info@paulvanspeaks.com. I would love to hear from you. And also I would like to get some comments from you about the channel itself, and what else would you like for me to provide to you as a part of this process. And I'm getting very close now to about 20 episodes. I'm getting closing in on that. And I thank you for being on this journey with me. And have your friends, family, and peers and colleagues to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Again, it's Paul Lawrence Van, Leadership is Influence. And my time is up, and I thank you for yours. And I'll see you on the next episode of Leadership is Influence. Have a good day. And today it was really all about self-leadership. Do not leave home without it. Have a great day and take good care for now. Thank you so much.